Hello, welcome back. It's Laura again at Hyperstamper. I did it. I found another Through Fairy Halls book, and this one is a 70-year-old book. I'm thrilled. Actually, a friend of mine had the whole series on her bookshelf, and she said, help yourself to 2 or 3 of them. So I went straight for this one, and she was getting rid of them. I just thrilled. It's the most popular, probably, journal that I sell. I'll be honest, I've had about 7 of these over the last 3 years. And this is one of the older ones, which I just love. So everything in here, believe it or not, is fairy and, magical elf enchantment themed. And it is all authentic, and the whole book is still intact here, and I've just added some bling here down the side. This was in a vintage auction box, but I can tell it's not vintage. But so truth be told, that is not authentic, but it's pretty, and you can take it off. It's on a pin there if you don't like it. So let me show you everything in this beautiful fairy themed junk journal, including the original pages. Oh, look at that beautiful, I just love that. I wish it were bigger so I could make it into a cover. And then there's the publisher's page, 1956 there. And then this first page here is just really sweet from a very old vintage book. And it's all about fairies and elves. Look at this little cutie down here. That's the little fairy guy. This here is just the end of a little fairy story. So I left that intact, but you can also journal on the other side, little cat there. And this here is from a 1930s children's book, and it's the poem of the little elf. It's absolutely adorable. Antique paper on the back for you to find more journaling space. This here is also from one of the My Book House series books, The Magic Garden, which I sold that book cover journal last week. And use these beautiful fairies down here. They're just gorgeous. This illustrator was incredible, Miller, and he does most of the fairy illustrations in the book. Now this here is really cool. It is from the 1920s, and it is The Adventures of Eyebright, which is a fairy. So what I did here is I left the cover and back intact, and I left there was only one plate in this book, and this is it here. And you can see little Eyebright on the ledge there. Isn't that sweet? And the little girl with her net trying to catch her. And then I've got this is beautiful old onion paper from a book from the 1800s, and I just love it's naturally stained there. And then I've got this old but never used vintage hanky, and it was never purchased, so it's in its brand new shape, but it's really old. This here is older, and it is an Emily Barker book on the fairies. This one is Tree Fairies, and so it's not quite vintage. It's about 40 years old, but I love it anyways. And I just think it's beautiful. The Pear Blossom Fairy, the Wild Cherry Blossom Fairy, it's just gorgeous. Now this here, that is not fairy themed, you say, and I say, but yes, it is, and I'll show you why. Little Miss Muffet says, happy birthday to you. This has actually got value. You can look this up on eBay or Etsy. And it's a little card from the 1940s, and it says Little Miss Muffet, and then there's a story inside that comes with the card. And look at on this page, the little fairies dancing around. I've never seen this before. This was a first, but isn't that absolutely adorable? Look at that. So I was going to keep this forever, this card, because I just thought it was so wonderful, but it has to go in a fairy journal. So that is very special. Isn't that great? And then this here, this is a new invention, a new kind of pocket I have made. So if other junk journalers start using it, just give me a shout out in your comment section. And yeah, I really like it. But it fits this actual vintage Emily Barker print here. This is just a gorgeous, the Privet Fairy. Isn't he spectacular? Look at the wings on him and the mulberry up there. Just wonderful. And yeah, it slides right into this wonderful 1950s postage stamp collector's page pocket. And then we've got some dancing elves down here that are helping the shoemaker, that wonderful old story. And this is all antique paper here. And I've turned that into a journaling spot. And I always like using butterflies for their wings. And many of the fairies are depicted with butterfly wings. And this is just a little booklet, an extra journaling booklet filled with antique and vintage papers from my cutoffs. Here we go. This is, oh, first I should show you, hold on. This is a merman. So I've been told that the trifecta is mermaids, fairies, and unicorns. So I try to put one of each, well, lots of fairies, one merman or mermaid here, and then you'll see unicorn coming up. This is a postcard from 1912, the beautiful little message on the back, and it just to me looks like a forest where fairies would live. And look at the beautiful sunset, it's just magical. I love it. And this, you say, Laura, why is that in there? That is not fairy themed either. And I say, ta-ta, it is. June 24th is International Fairy Day. And this is a little diary from 1937, and this little boy went on a trip with his father to England, and he writes about all the different things that they did on their trip. This here is just a picture of a lady in a forest as well, and I like to think that she's looking for fairies, and that came from the 1920s. Now, this is my favorite thing in the book, The Enchanted Hill, a very old antique book, and because it's enchantment themed, it was just not in good enough shape to make into a journal, so I made it part of a journal. And then I've just got a little flip-flop here, got lots of journaling space here, here, and underneath there. This is gorgeous, beautiful, very old vintage crochet lace kind of thing up here as well. There's a little fairy down here from 1927. And here's our, whoop, come on, don't tell me I glued you inside. Sometimes I do that just for fun. But if I give him a gentle tug, there he is. And there's our unicorn. So this is a little pattern to make a kite out of. Look at that. A unicorn kite, and that is from the early 70s from a craft book, and then that is all tucked into this 1959 children's book. We've got the fairies there. And this little children's book page here from the 40s has a cute little fairy there with the old man in his basket. And this is a very special plate. This also has value. It's a Nellie Littlehale Umberstadter illustration. She illustrated this in 1914, a famous illustrator, and this is a 1923, I believe, edition of that, and that came out of the Wonder World series, and it is called The Leaf Makers' Homes. So it's the homes of the leaf makers, so up in the trees where the little leaf making fairies live. Isn't that wonderful? I love that so much, and I didn't do anything to the back in case somebody wants to cut down here and put it in a frame or use it to digitize. Here is Through Fairy Halls again. Look at this gorgeous color. This one is a 1927. It's gorgeous, I love it. And down here is a little piece I pulled out of another children's book from the 20s. Fairy Five Fingers was giving a tea party up on top of the hill. So I made that into a pocket. And again, this is not fairy themed, but it's full of flowers, and I always do think of fairies flying around flowers and forests, so I had to have some flowers in here. And then there's actually a hydrangea fairy that I can show you another time. And another fairy illustration here, and this is a page from that antique book, The Enchanted Hill, and you can journal here. This is wonderful. This is a vintage art book that depicts different illustrators, and this particular one here, hold on, is from Charles Robinson. It is from 1913, and the book is from the 70s, but look at that beautiful fairy up here. Isn't she spectacular? I just love it. There was a lovely fairy in the air just in front of, I just love it. And this is one of my favorite fairy illustrations. This is from this book from, so that's a 70-year-old page there. But look at the beautiful turquoise color, these fairies dancing all around the elf with the fiddle. Look at them all. Oh, it's just wonderful. I love it so much. And that's just a piece of vintage scarf there that I laid down the side. Okay, so now you've found out some of the ways that I incorporate things into my fairy books. And this is just another kind of bellflower that I do see a lot of bluebells in fairy stories. So I included that. And then that little pocket there is a little elf from the 20s. And then this, can you guess why this is in here? 6/24, June 24th, International Fairy Day again. And up here, We have another wonderful little elf here playing the fiddle, probably the same elf that is in there. This is infused homemade paper, and it's infused with these beautiful little sprigs here. So it's not vintage, but it was very naturey to me. This is also from, this is actually from a 1970s version of Through Fairy Halls, and this one is called A Musical Visit to Fairyland, and they've got all these beautiful fairies and pixies dancing on the other page. This here is just from the 1800s. It's super brittle, so new owner of this journal, please just be gentle with this. You can use it and collage it, cut it up, but if you were to bend it, it would just snap right in half. But it is just so pretty because it also has these flower patterns, and that was the interior page of a journal. And then I just made this little journaling tag here, and I had to put in some kind of coupon, so I have this bright yellow one to sort of match the yellow dress on the cover. And that's a little coupon. Vintage. And this is the famous gray and white story. I see this a lot, but this is my favorite picture of that. Look at that. Aren't they sweet? And there she is sitting on a mushroom, and there's those bluebells that I was talking about. I just love it so much. I get very excited when I see that story in a book. And Cat's Cradle, we've got the little elf here playing Cat's Cradle with the little toddler, and you can journal on the back of that as well and read the story. And this one, The Time of Her Life, because this little girl here is having the time of her life with the little elf man. 1923, Child's Garden of Verses. Look at this gorgeous, gorgeous fairy here. She is stunning. She's watering the bluebells again. So that's spectacular. That's just on the flip side. And then this is just a darling little 1920s children's book page. It's so fuzzy and thick. My goodness, it was so hard to fold actually. And then we have that little ferryman there. Look at their little teeny tiny wings back there. And on the opposite side is the bubble party. Now bubbles were, they've actually been around since ancient times. And in this one, of course, they use the clay pipes that have been around since the 1400s. And the children are doing the bubbles. I'm fascinated with bubbles in stories. And then, can you find the fairies on this page? Can you see them? They're the fir fairies, F-I-R, fir tree fairies. And there they are. Aren't they spectacular? You could actually find the fairies with this book. They're sort of hidden everywhere. There's another little elf there. And that brings us to the end of this beautiful book. I hope you love it as much as I loved making it. Hyperstamper.etsy.com. Come back soon, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye for now.